What makes a game speedrunnable? Well, just being a game is actually enough for some people, but there's much more to it. While some games actively encourage players to attempt speedruns, for example by adding a timer option or similar features that are intended to make the game more appealing for speedrunners, there's also a more passive approach to this. That obviously doesn't mean that these two approaches are mutually exclusive, but let's focus on the latter for now. Let me explain it to you quickly. Passively encouraging speedruns doesn't mean that you make your game speedrunnable, it means that you let it be speedrunnable. To show you what I mean by that, let's take a look at the ways in which I let Aestik be speedrunnable. Although the full version of Aestik is still in development and thus cannot be played yet, there are 2 demos already available. While there is a demo on Steam, please wishlist Aestik. The one that already got a few speedruns is the extended demo on our Discord server. Some of the tricks that were done in said speedruns caught my attention, so let's go over it. Minor spoilers of the Aestik demo ahead. Possibly the biggest time saves can be achieved by intentionally skipping save points. Aestik does automatically save the game in certain situations, such as after picking up important items or defeating bosses, but it only saves the location the player respawns in when interacting with the spirit altars. That system can be abused to save over a minute worth of time, so when you unlock the Mist Dance, Aestik's first unlockable ability, and reach the point where the game saves, you can either go back to the menu and reload the game, or die by the spikes nearby to go back to the beginning, assuming that you didn't save along the way. That way you don't have to go back by foot. You can miss out on some gameplay and story content that way though, so as a game designer you might ask yourself why I frame this as a good thing. Well, because it is. First off, the average player won't speedrun the game, and secondly, even speedrunners will try to get to know the game first before they just zoom through the whole experience. And finding out about exploits that don't break the game can actually be quite rewarding. When I found out that you can skip the first capture in Super Mario Odyssey, that was a great feeling. And that's just one of many good examples of how devs just let the players have fun without forcing them to do things in a specific way. Another example in Aestik are these squishy plants you can find in Brimstone Valley. Normally you have to hit them to make a platform appear that can only be reached if you move to a higher position first. However, and I actually knew that from the moment I started implementing the mechanic, you can bypass this extra step by pogoing on the plant and performing a mist dance afterwards. This exploit, if you can even call it that, makes Brimstone Valley one of the most intense areas to run through. There are obviously many more situations in which pogoing can save you some time. That can make the gameplay look absolutely sick, and I do want to embrace that as much as possible. But as I mentioned before, as a developer you have to be cautious that those kinds of exploits don't break the game. So being aware of speedrun techniques and designing with them in mind is crucial to pull it off as intended. There was an exploit like that in the Aestik demo not too long ago, and it was actually brought to my attention by one of the speedrunners in the Aestik community, so thanks again. When I reworked the combat system of Aestik, I forgot to think about the side effects of a much larger hitbox outside of battle, so that led to the gates being able to be opened from the wrong side. And as I said, I do love speedruns and want to encourage them as much as possible, but that's really a no-no, for obvious reasons. And I fixed the problem by just deactivating the level trigger when the player is within a certain area. Dumb problems require dumb solutions. Needless to say, there are also ways to speed up gameplay that don't involve exploits. Things that probably shouldn't be designed with speedrunning in mind, but still can be beneficial for those who do run the game. I'm talking about stuff like using knockback to move faster or similar techniques. Strats like that also help to make a speedrun more interesting and competitive, but they come naturally, and you can't really balance them in the same way you can the ones we've talked about earlier. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is that designing games with speedrunning in mind is always a good thing. You obviously don't want to make a game exclusively for speedrunning, but you get my point. Of course, the extent of this principle should depend on the type of game, but I believe that even for narrative-driven games, it does make sense to think about that kind of stuff. For that specific example, it can be as simple as just adding an option to skip dialogue or cutscenes. I'm just spitballing though, and as I said, there are no strict guidelines. I am curious about your opinions on the matter though, so please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you want to try Aestik for yourself, you can download the demo on Steam or join the Discord to play an extended version. And if you really want to support the project, an efficient strat is to speedrun over to Steam and oh my god, I can't do this. Please just wishlist Aestik on Steam.